Business Saturday. I'm Arundhati Ramanan and you're watching CNBC TV18. Straight to our top story this morning in the US markets. Wall Street ends with losses for the fifth straight session as jobs data misses expectations, adding to the concerns of a slowing global economy. Now, big US tech companies also were under pressure on the back of potential policy intervention from Senator Elizabeth Warren. CNBC's Deirdre Bose gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street. Take a look.
For CNBC TV18, I'm Deirdre Boza. Major U.S. averages slightly lower, closing well off their worst levels of the day. The Dow slipping 22 points, the S&P off 5, and the Nasdaq down 13 points. The U.S. adding just 20,000 jobs in February, well below economists' expectations of 180,000, marking the worst month for job creation since September of 2017. There was some good news, though, with the unemployment rate falling slightly more than expected. Wages also climbing by their best margin since the economic recovery began almost 10 years ago. Senator Elizabeth Warren reigniting her push to break up big technology companies like Amazon, Facebook, and Apple. On Friday, the Democratic senator from Massachusetts unveiling her plan in a blog post. Warren said tech companies today have too much power, and she wants to make big structural changes to promote more competition. And shares of Costco popping about 5% Friday. The wholesale retailer beat earnings estimates late Thursday and announced plans to boost its starting wages to $15 per hour in both the United States and Canada. That's the action from the U.S. market. Back over to you in Mumbai.
Thank you, Deirdre, for all the action there from Wall Street. Now, as she mentions, jobs data shocker coming in there from the United States. The American economy added just about 20,000 jobs in February against the expectation of 1.8 lakh new jobs. This follows the longest government shutdown in the United States history, combined with adverse weather conditions. Now, the disappointing data has taken a toll on Wall Street as well, with the key indices seeing sharp losses. Let's go across to CNBC's Ilan Mui for more. Ilan?
Payrolls rose by just 20,000 jobs in February, way below expectations. The unemployment rate declined by 0.2 percentage points to 3.8%. On wages, average hourly earnings spiked 11 cents in February to $27.66. That's a 0.4% increase over the month, and over the year, it's a 3.4% gain, the biggest gain since April 2009, almost a decade. Now, for revisions, January's blockbuster job growth number, that was revised upward from 304,000 to 311,000 jobs. December's number was also revised up from 222,000 jobs to 227,000. So that is 12,000 more jobs than had previously been reported. The three-month moving average for job growth is now 186,000 jobs. Now, February's weak job growth was really driven by two key factors. One, the construction sector. That industry said 31,000 jobs. Meanwhile, leisure and hospitality hiring was flat there. No jobs were added after the sector posted an 89,000 job gain in January. Now, the data also show that the decline in the unemployment rate was largely due to the end of the government shutdown. There were about 300,000 fewer unemployed persons in January. That's the result of people going back to work after the shutdown, and that's what drove down the unemployment rate. Meanwhile, labor force participation, that rate held steady at 63.2%. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Ilan, for taking us through all the action there. Now, economy experts, however, say that the February jobs data should be taken with a grain of salt. Take a look.
You don't want to read too much into one number. You want to be looking at this. We'll want to be studying the details of this. The unemployment rate remains low. Wage growth remains strong. You want to average numbers like this over a couple months. This does partly resolve that thing that was puzzling me about job growth has been outpacing GDP growth. Maybe they're moving towards each other. We are going to be seeing slowing. I would have thought that regardless of what this number was, but I wouldn't panic about any one number.
The headline number is a weak number, but obviously the internals tell a little bit of a better story, and certainly wages continue to go up is certainly a positive. From a market standpoint, I would look at this as it doesn't really change the trend. We know we are cyclically getting a little bit weaker. We had a pretty big pullback and tightening in the fourth quarter, so it's not shocking to see the market softness a little bit.
Let's also take a look at how markets in Europe fared in trade. Europe also ended lower. It was no different from Wall Street as investors digested weak US jobs data and the announcement of more ECB stimulants. All three of the indices, as you can see, the FTSE, DAX and CAC ended about 0.7% in the red. And in the currency space, the dollar fell against most major currencies yesterday as data showed US employers hired far fewer workers than forecast in February, although the jobless rate fell and wages grew more than expected. And in the world of commodities, crude oil prices fell but managed to retrace losses after plunging on data that showed recent US job gains grinding to a halt in February. Crude futures were also under pressure after data showed a slump in Chinese imports and exports last month, and the European Central Bank slashed its outlook for economic growth in the continent. So Brent there in the green, NYMEX in the red, about 1% lower in trade. Let's slip in on Business Saturday onto the big news from the banking sector. SBI has decided to link the pricing of its savings deposits and short-term loans to an external benchmark with effect from the 1st of May. In a conversation with Lata Venkatesh and Shireen Bhan, SBI Chairman Rajneesh Kumar said that this move will aid the bank as market fluctuations will not hit profit margins. He also points out that banks have failed to maintain flexibility with respect to liabilities. Take a look.
There is no preemption as far as RBI guidelines on external benchmark are concerned. Reserve Bank of India, the existing guideline itself provides that we can link loans to MCLR or we can link loans to external benchmark. Even now that provision is there. So we are completely, whatever decision we have taken, it has been taken in accordance with the existing guidelines of Reserve Bank of India. About the transmission, there has been an issue, and banks have always maintained that on liability side, we don't have enough room or flexibility because all our liability structure is very rigid. So that is where, unless we transmit rates on the liability side, we cannot transmit rates on the asset side. That has been the position of the banks. And that is where, after a lot of deliberations and internal discussions in our ELCO, then we thought that this was the only way where we can meet the requirement which Reserve Bank of India have expressed from time to time, that transmission should happen. And that is where it is,
Mr. Kumar, what percentage of your savings deposits are above 1 lakh? And what percentage of your total deposits are above 1 lakh savings deposits?
So, you can't ask me to disclose all my asset liability number. What I will qualify my comment is that with this move, the products which will be linked on the asset side and the balances above 1 lakh on the savings bank side, there will be a very big match between the what we call asset liability match or mismatch. So basically what we have done is that we have created flexibility on the liability side to respond to the changes in repo rate, and accordingly, and as a result of that, we change the lending rate on the asset side, and any good ALM practice would mean where the bank's net interest income or NIM remain protected irrespective of whatever is the movement in the market. That is the whole purpose of ALM. So our ALM now is much more balanced and relatively better aligned, and the market fluctuations would not impact banks' interest margin.
So any time in the near future, are you going to extend this to term deposits, fixed deposits?
Fixed deposits we tried earlier, it did not work. So there was no demand for the variable rate linked fixed deposits. We had a product, but the response was very poor.
But with this linking, at the moment your margins will improve, no? Because you have a very good spread, 3.5% cost of money, and lending rate is 8.5%. That's a solid spread, isn't it?
No. But it is not like that. Again, there is a misunderstanding. Our average cost of funds or cost of borrowing on which MCLR is determined is 6.02%. There is an average. So automatically when one part or one component of savings bank, which becomes linked to repo rate, so this average rate or average cost will move whenever there is a change in the repo rate. And accordingly, the average yield on advances will also move. So it should not be linked. Now, if you link it, you say that your current account is 0 and you are charging 8.5%, then my spread is 8.5%. And if I am paying on the term deposit 7%, then my spread is 1.5%.
Right.
So this is not the way to look at it.
The 583-day wait is over after multiple challenges in parallel litigations. The National Company Law Tribunal has approved ArcelorMittal's bid for debt-ridden Essar Steel. Remember, the lenders had finalized ArcelorMittal as the winning bidder despite opposition from the Ruyas, the promoter of Essar Steel. Ritu Singh joins us now with more details. Ritu, finally ArcelorMittal prevails.
Well, it's been a very long and bumpy road for ArcelorMittal to finally be able to foray into India, with the NCLT finally approving the resolution plan that ArcelorMittal had submitted to acquire Essar Steel under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Now, the offer that has been made by ArcelorMittal is about 42,000 crore rupees as upfront payment to all the creditors of Essar Steel, which includes about 2,500 crore rupees retained cash on the books of Essar Steel. But this order does come with a caveat, which is NCLT has asked the lenders to reconsider how they distribute this corpus of 42,000 crore rupees amongst all the lenders, operational and financial included, where they've suggested that the financial creditors give at least 15% of that total corpus to the operational creditors. Obviously, coming in after the operational creditors mounted their defense in various courts seeking to be paid at par with the financial creditors. Now, this order has already been challenged by both Essar Steel and the operational creditors that have asked for a stay on the order until they are able to prepare their appeal. Now, statements have been coming in from both the parties. Essar Steel, for instance, told us that it still continues to believe that its offer of 54,000 crore rupees is the most competitive one, and it is also confident of the legal validity of the offer that it has made, and therefore it will continue to explore the option and take the next steps after it examines the order. ArcelorMittal has welcomed the NCLT order today. It has further said that it will be studying the order in greater detail and is hopeful of concluding this transaction very soon. But this NCLT verdict is hardly the end of the story. We do understand that the promoters will first, certainly be looking to move a higher court, whether that is NCLAT and after that Supreme Court. But, the final word will have to be said in New Delhi.
All right, Ritu, thank you so much for those details. Now, fugitive jeweler Nirav Modi, one of the prime accused in the Punjab National Bank scam, has been tracked down to London's West End by UK-based daily The Telegraph. India had made a request to extradite the 48-year-old from Britain last August, but the matter remains in the hands of the Home Secretary. In February 2018, Nirav Modi was accused by Punjab National Bank of swindling it of over 6,000 crore rupees. Sanjay Suri is with us to give us more details on that front. Sanjay?
The images confirm what we've known for several months now, that Nirav Modi is in London, that he's living here freely and comfortably. We see him wandering around Oxford Street here, doing very visibly well for himself. We also know, and this we know independent of these images that we've seen, that Nirav Modi is in fact continuing to do business out of London, that he has taken up an office in central London and has resumed trade in diamonds out of London as a location rather than other locations around the world before. So he is back in business, not just continuing to remain in comfort. These images certainly will raise questions again about that extradition request the Indian government has sent to the British, and that was several months back. We've had no response yet from the British authorities. As a matter of routine, if there was to be a response, the UK government would have carried out an arrest, and that would have led to the beginning of extradition proceedings, and the matter would have gone to court. We haven't seen any of that yet. The very move to begin these proceedings has not appeared yet, and this will certainly renew questions being asked of the British why they are not acting on the Indian government request.
All right, Sanjay, thank you for taking us through those details. In fact, we have Parikshit Luthra also joining us on the phone line. Parikshit, the Ministry of External Affairs briefed the media on the Nirav Modi front. So what exactly did they say? What action is being taken?
same speed with which the UK government is handling this case, as we saw with Vijay Mallya. But what the Indian government is saying that the last time we made our extradition request on behalf of the Enforcement Directorate and the CBI was in August 2018. And since then, there has been really no response from the UK side. The UK Home Office hasn't either confirmed that Nirav Modi is there. They've not also told the Indian government about any steps that are being taken to either investigate his involvement in a crime or whether his case merits extradition in the first place. Having said that, the government is saying that it's not as if we were unaware, and we're getting to know for the first time from these pictures that he is in the UK. We had known all this while. That's why this extradition request was sent. So far, the UK government has not sought any additional documents on Nirav Modi. But at the same time, matters like these relating to Nirav Modi, Mehul Choksi, Vijay Mallya and other economic offenders who have been in the UK, these are matters that have been raised with the UK authorities at several levels, and several requests have also gone to expedite the extradition of these individuals. Mehul Choksi is someone who is in Antigua and Barbuda right now, and the Indian government is yet to get a response on him as well.
Parikshit, so that's the latest on the Nirav Modi front. But Parikshit, stay with us. The MEA also spoke about the border tensions with Pakistan. So what did they say on that front?
Well, they came out and criticized the information war that Pakistan has launched over the last few days, saying that they managed to bring down 2 Indian aircraft. There was no destruction of any terror camp in Pakistan, as the Indian government is alleging. Today, the MEA spokesperson asked that if there is evidence of a second Indian aircraft being brought down by Pakistani fighters, why has no visual evidence been put out so far? Why have foreign journalists not been taken to the area where the Indian Air Force struck terror camps? So these are questions that the Indian government is asking. They also said that they have visual evidence, electronic evidence, to prove that Indian fighters did carry out that attack in Pakistani territory. Wing Commander Abhinandan, and this is significant because this is for the first time being said on record, that Wing Commander Abhinandan brought down the F-16 and his plane was shot down after that. And they have shared evidence with the United States as well.
All right, Parikshit, thank you so much for joining us with all those details. On that note, it is time for business. Saturday, after the grand wedding celebrations of Isha Ambani and Anand Piramal in December, the Ambani family is getting ready for another member to tie the knot. Mukesh and Neeta Ambani's son, Akash Ambani, will be marrying Shloka Mehta in Mumbai today. India's financial capital is awash with big international and corporate names. Former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, Coca-Cola CEO James Quincy, Google CEO Sundar Pichai and Netflix founder Reed Hastings. And as